History is filled with figures who rise from nothing, but few stories are as dramatic as Timur's. Born in 1336 near Samarkand, Timur was a minor noble, wounded in youth and left with a limp, earning the name Timur the Lame. His disability fueled his ambition. He mastered strategy, forging alliances through both charm and intimidation. By 1369, Timur seized power in Transoxiana, making Samarkand his capital. He presented himself as a devout Muslim and transformed Samarkand into a jewel of the Islamic world. The crippled boy from a minor clan became a self-made emperor, his legend echoing across continents. Timur's wars were defined by psychological terror, not just conquest. He wanted his enemies to surrender before battle, using calculated brutality as a warning. News of his atrocities travelled ahead, paralyzing cities with fear. Survivors were left alive to spread tales of horror. This was a deliberate strategy to make resistance seem insane. Cities that surrendered were spared, saving Timur time and resources. Fear was the glue that held his empire together. He was a master of psychological warfare. In Timur's world, fear conquered more than the sword ever could. 2 campaigns cemented Timur's reputation for apocalyptic violence, Baghdad in 1401 and Delhi in 1398. Baghdad, a center of culture, fell after a 40-day siege. Timur ordered each soldier to present a severed head, resulting in unimaginable carnage. He built 120 towers of skulls outside the city, a calculated monument to terror. The message was clear: defiance meant annihilation. In Delhi, Timur's army executed 100,000 Hindu prisoners before the main battle, fearing they might rebel. After victory, Delhi was given over to days of massacre and pillage. Its wealth plundered, its people slaughtered. The city was left a smoking ruin, its recovery taking nearly a century. Timur carried away treasures and artisans to Samarkand, but left behind devastation. These acts were not just about conquest, they were warnings to the world. Timur's legacy was written in blood and bone, his monuments built from the remains of his victims. The world learned to resist Timur was to risk total erasure. Life as a soldier in Timur's army was brutal and precarious. Promotion depended on ferocity and obedience. Proof of participation in massacres was required, often in the form of severed heads. Reluctance was punished by death, binding soldiers together in shared complicity. Campaigns meant enduring deserts, mountains, and disease, surviving on meager rations and looted supplies. Medical care was primitive, infection was often fatal, and soldiers learned to treat wounds with whatever means they had. The psychological toll was immense. Constant violence, fear of Timur's wrath, and the need to kill civilians hardened the men. Camaraderie was forged in darkness. Gambling and stories offered brief escape. Timur's sudden inspections kept everyone on edge. Any sign of weakness was swiftly punished. Soldiers were conquerors to the world, but lived as servants under constant threat. The army was a machine of terror, but its gears were ground by fear and survival. In Timur's ranks there was no room for mercy, only the relentless drive to obey and endure. The soldier's burden was to be both instrument and victim of Timur's will. Timur's destruction went beyond slaughter. He targeted the very foundations of civilization. His armies burned granaries, slaughtered livestock, and destroyed irrigation systems, ensuring famine and collapse. Cities like Isfahan and Herat became ghost towns, their populations decimated and infrastructure ruined. Survivors faced starvation and disease. Epidemics swept through the ruins. The Silk Road fractured, trade routes collapsed, and entire regions plunged into destitution. The environmental impact was lasting. Destroyed irrigation led to desertification, making recovery impossible. Timur's campaigns left not just dead bodies, but dead land. The scars he inflicted on the environment and economy lasted for centuries. His legacy was a wasteland where civilization had once flourished. For Timur, destruction was not just a tactic, it was the end itself. Timur is often compared to Genghis Khan, but their legacies diverge sharply. Genghis was a nation builder, creating a unified empire with laws, trade, and communication. His violence was strategic. Cities that surrendered were spared and integrated. The Mongol Empire fostered the Pax Mongolica, connecting east and west. Genghis used terror as a tool to establish order. Timur, by contrast, made terror his philosophy. He destroyed for its own sake, enriching Samarkand but leaving no lasting system. His empire was held together by fear and personal will, crumbling after his death. Genghis left a world order. Timur left a power vacuum and devastation. The Mongol legacy shaped history for centuries. Timur's was a scar across continents. Where Genghis built, Timur annihilated. One was a brutal founder, the other a magnificent destroyer. Their names echo through history, but their impacts could not be more different. Timur's devastation left scars that lasted centuries, some never healed. Cities like Baghdad, once centers of learning, never regained their former glory. The destruction of infrastructure and mass killings led to demographic collapse and desertification. Up to 17 million deaths, 5% of the world's population, are attributed to his campaigns. The psychological trauma lingered. Timur's name became a byword for terror. Societies traumatized by his reign became insular, prioritizing security and suspicion. His actions shifted the balance of power, weakening the Golden Horde, delaying the Ottomans, and enabling new empires to rise. Timur was a chaotic force. He shattered old orders, leaving vacuums for new histories to emerge. His legacy was not just destruction, but the transformation of the world's political landscape. The shadow of his terror shaped generations. Long after his empire vanished, in the ruins he left, new powers and new stories began to grow. Amidst the horror of Timur's reign, human resilience endured. Survivors rebuilt, adapted, and carried on, even as cities lay in ruins. The existence of Baghdad and Delhi today is a testament not to Timur's power, but to humanity's stubborn will to survive. Artisans and scholars, forced to Samarkand, became agents of cultural transmission, sparking a final flourish of art and architecture. Even in oppression, creativity persisted. Timur's story is one of devastation, but also of endurance. It reminds us that while cruelty can shatter worlds, the human spirit can rebuild them. The echoes of survival outlasted the echoes of terror, proof that hope endures even in the darkest chapters of history.